Hello, this is Liz. I just wanted to jump in before we begin the podcast and explain a few things about what you are about to hear. This podcast was recorded because Brian is going through some struggles with how he's feeling about life, about how he's processing things, about how he's coping physically, mentally, emotionally. And when we recorded this podcast, in all honesty, we said, let's just sit down and record this, and we don't have to put it out if we don't want to. We sat down and we just chatted about how he was feeling. Now, what you are going to hear is exactly how that conversation went. But there is something I feel that you need to know before you go on and listen to that episode. We recorded it and then we listened back to it with the intention of editing it. And when we listened to it, there's so much in there that both of us were just cringing about, to be honest. I'll be really honest with you. I keep interrupting Brian. I just seem too fast, and listening back, I keep wanting to say to myself, slow down, Liz, and stop interrupting. And Brian said that he felt as if he was just going around the houses and not getting to the point. And we said, shall we edit it? Shall we just cut loads out and just make it slicker and make it so that you don't hear me interrupting and make it so you sound like you know what you're talking about? Or should we just forget the whole thing and not put it out? And we sat there and we just said, do you know what? Our whole intention with you, the listener, is to keep it real. And if this isn't real, then I don't know what is, because this isn't a podcast you're about to listen to. This is me and Brian chatting. And that is why we keep talking over each other and don't really get to the point. And we're just trying to figure things out. Brian is trying to figure things out. And yeah, we just thought it was important to give you this little pre-warning, because it's not the most polished of pieces of material that you'll ever get to listen to, but it is very, very real. And although we did say, and we've got the option, of course, we have the option of pressing the edit button, and we also had the option of recording it again and saying, look, let's do it again. And this time we'll give it more structure, and I won't interrupt you and you won't interrupt me, and it'll be fine and it'll be perfect. But surely that takes away from our whole ethos of being real with you and letting you see the whole thought process of what a husband and wife go through when they're struggling or trying to work something out together. So yeah, I just wanted to jump in there and say that to you. So you knew what the situation was. Thanks so much for being here. Sit back and enjoy this very real, open and frank conversation between me and Brian.
Hello.
Last week, we were in the hot tub with Sunny Tess, and Tess said something completely off the cuff. It was no major, but Brian snapped and said, I mean, she was being a little,
she said, 18-year-old
yes, exactly, yeah. Normally you just think, oh, shut up. But It hit a chord with Brian and you went absolutely crazy. But you said, oh, that's it. I'm going for a walk. I'm going off on my own. And you went off. And I just knew that there was something going on with you.
Hello. I could eat about 1.5 million of these.
Well, nobody's perfect.
Welcome to the It's a Drama podcast.
Daddy, I love him.
My mother thanks you.
If you can't say something nice.
Right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Hello and welcome to the It's a Drama podcast. I'm Liz.
And I'm Brian.
And this is our first podcast back in 2023. So excited to just be back with you and getting on the microphones, Brian, and just having a chat.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, Happy New Year. And may it be a wonderful one and a brilliant one and everything that you wish and hope for.
Yeah, let's hope it's a good one.
Yeah. This podcast, we're like this, aren't we, Brian? We're like, shall we do it, shall we not do it?
Again, it's another one of those ones that might not get released.
It might be on the floor.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why, because we wanted, it's always the way, isn't it? In your mind, if you had a perfect life and a perfect podcast and a perfect production,
which we have,
everything, which we have, everything that we've got, it would be the first one back in 2023 would be a flipping cracker. It would be
Yeah.
full of energy. It would be full of positivity. It would be like, hey guys, we traveled last year and now we've got all these plans. We've got this and everything's brilliant and wonderful and we're so happy and we're bringing you joy. But this episode is going to be about how Brian's feeling. We normally, we quite a few of the episodes, I open up and I'm like, how I'm feeling and if you're a regular listener to this show, you'll know that I do like to wear my heart on my sleeve and talk about that. And you tend not to. You're the...
Well, I'm a man.
Well, no,
you're not allowed to talk about how you feel.
No, but you just, you don't. It's as simple as that, really. I can't put it any plainer.
No.
And this last couple of weeks, or this last week, you've been going through a bit of a tough time, let's say. And we just thought we'd bring it to the podcast and talk about it because... we just think that that's important that we remain transparent with you and that you see what's going on in our lives.
Yeah.
And hopefully the reason we're sharing it is because if you're going through similar things, then you're going to think, oh, thank God it's not just me.
Yeah.
And that always helps. I love that. I love it when you're going through something tough or you're having a bit of a sticky situation and you read a book or listen to a podcast or, watch a video and they say something and it just hits you and you're like, I'm not the only one. And all of a sudden that problem that you've got just dissolves into a much smaller part of your life, doesn't it? Because you're not the only one.
No, you feel real then, don't you? Because look, someone else has got the same problem as me. I was having a tough time or this, that and the other or whatever, however it is. It's so true. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'm also writing a book at the moment, a book about traveling the world with our family for a year. We did that in 2018. The four of us went backpacking around the world for a year on 100 New Zealand dollars a day. And we managed to do it. And I'm writing a book about that. I'm writing a book about all the stories that came out of that. And if you're new to the program, again, every week for the last few weeks, apart from one last week, I've been reading little snippets of the first chapter of that book. It's been fantastic. And I will be reading a section of that chapter out in the middle of today's show. And the reason I'm reading that reading that bit of the chapter out is because it ties in to what we're going to talk about now. Chapter is all about Brian. That part of the chapter, rather, is all about Brian, you, and
Me.
how you went into business with someone and stayed with that person for 7 years, even though you weren't particularly happy.
No. Yeah.
So, it's a good old story, this one. And like I say, it's all about the importance of 1, talking, 2, self-care, and 3, how you get that motivation and keep going, because I think that's a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a huge thing. Motivation is what keeps us going. The goals that we try and achieve and look for. But the biggest thing with being a home-based business is motivation. That's the biggest. It is the only thing that keeps you going, because without it, you just stop and just think, oh, I'll go and do something else instead.
Well, let's just talk about that for a while. So just to give you a backstory, after we came back from traveling the world, we decided that Brian wasn't going to go back to doing his plumbing and heating anymore. And we were going to put everything we had into creating our own online business. So that was a blog. We started another blog, a dog blog, and I've got a travel blog. And we just put everything we could into building online businesses. Yeah. We also did a third one as well, which didn't do so well, but we gave it a good go. Yeah,
that was a little mini manufacturing business, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To try and build something and sell it. So you had your own product to sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to know more about that, there's I think go back to the episode that's how we afford to travel the world, and that tells you all about. It gives you a backstory of how we are in the position that we're in now, why we are working from home. Yeah. So if you fast forward 4 years now, we're both working from home. We've just returned from a 6-month trip to Europe, and we make our money by our online travel blog. That brings money in through affiliates and advertising, and I've got a travel course. And also our other business is we help people move to New Zealand. So we're very, very New Zealand focused, and we want to help people who are doing the same as we did 14 years ago feel supported and surrounded by people who are doing the same thing, just to help them and be there for them. So
it's that like-minded people in a wonderful community where you get the resources that are in that community you won't really find anywhere else. I don't think, if you move into New Zealand.
Yeah,
for sure. You know,
so we're pretty busy. You know,
Yes.
we create a lot of content for our New Zealand audience, and you know the people moving to New Zealand, and we're busy. Let's put it that way.
Well, the thing
we
is,
seem to be busy.
sometimes we will do 7 days a week, and that's again, that's that not so much motivation, but you just keep going, and there's lines in the sand that you've got to draw, haven't you? But because you feel that if you stop, it's so hard to get going again.
I know.
Yeah.
I always think that. That's what I'm always scared of. Even at Christmas when we took a break,
Yeah.
I was thinking, I almost don't want to stop because it's going to just be too hard to get back into it all again. But that's
and you feel like you're losing touch as well, because online stuff is 24/7, especially with people around the world. It's not just your regular 9 to 5, is it? Because there's always something to wake up to that's new, or it's a bit like when you open your emails in the morning, you get emails from all over the world, don't you?
Don't know, do you?
Well, most people do, don't they? From, wherever you've been shopping, from Amazon and all those sort of things, all those cookies that you've signed up for, and in come those emails, don't they? And it's just like, oh, wish I hadn't signed up for that. Because I remember just a few weeks ago, just thinking I need more time on email, not so much emails, but get rid of the junk.
Yeah.
And we don't de-junk enough, do we? Like,
No.
and get rid of, unsubscribe, just spend a morning. If it is a morning, all of a sudden you've got all this time. Because you think, oh, it takes a second to delete it. Well, it doesn't. It takes minutes and minutes, because some of them you actually, I want to read that
You
one.
read it to make sure it's not spam.
Yeah.
So going back to what we did when we went traveling. So like I say, we've worked 4 years, worked our asses off basically to be in the position that we're in now.
The location independence.
To be
is what we're
location
talking about.
independent.
That's why we could take that time off.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't time. We keep saying time off.
Yeah.
And it
We went
wasn't
travelling
time off.
for 6
We
months.
travelled and
Yeah.
worked for 6
we
months.
did.
Just not in the house.
We went to Europe and Asia, and
Yeah.
we spent 6 months traveling and working at the same time. And it was absolutely fabulous. The reason why it was so fabulous is because not only were we traveling, but we were getting paid every day for it, because we were able to keep working.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like it was brilliant. I was going to say it was just flipping brilliant. I was going to say, if you're from England, you'll know that if someone says flipping brilliant, that isn't just brilliant, that's flipping brilliant.
Yeah.
So that means it's mega brilliant.
That's it. It's like effing brilliant, isn't it?
No, flipping is much better than effing.
Flipping egg.
Yeah, but it was. We were traveling, we were house sitting, and every day we were doing what we loved to do, which is creating content, talking to our New Zealand membership community, constantly interacting, making podcasts, creating more posts for the blog. It was just perfect.
It was. And lots of house sitting, looking after other people's houses.
Yeah.
And not your own. Yeah.
And then when we came back in November, and within a week I had COVID, and it really hit me bad. And not only did I have COVID, but I had vacation blues, they call it, don't they? Where when you come back from a vacation or a time away, it's hard to readjust to get back into life.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you've been listening to this podcast on a regular basis, you will know that I said, thank God Brian is the strong one, and thank God you are just holding it all together, because I honestly felt like a wreck. I just felt like I wasn't in bed or anything. I was functioning. I was up and about and going out and seeing people, but inside I just wanted to keep crying, because I wanted my travel life back, to be honest. I wanted, if I could have taken my kids and my family and gone back to my travel life, I just wanted that freedom back. And, we didn't have it. We've come back home, and this is it. And what happened last week was you started to, actually, no, I'm sorry. Let me just rewind a little bit. I was writing my book as well. When we came back, I had COVID, and I was writing my book, and the editor said, I need this book in by the 20th of December. So I was spending every day trying to finish this book, a book that I'm not getting paid for. It's making me no money whatsoever.
No,
so that was even harder.
That's at the moment.
Yeah, it was even harder though, because it's not as if I was putting time out there and thinking, well, at least you're getting, $1,000 a week for it or whatever.
Yeah.
You're not. There's nothing. So all that work for nothing. But and like you say, it won't be for nothing. I know that. But at the moment,
it costs you money to.
Yes.
Yeah. Who pays for your time? It's you. It's us. That's who pays for your time. Is what you're saying.
And while I was doing that, while I was sitting in my room, in my bedroom, with my fold-down table and my little jar of honeysuckle next to me to keep me
when your incense and
my incense and everything else that I could think of to keep me from
your oracle cards
wandering off and just my mind going everywhere else, Brian took charge of everything else in the house. You took charge of the meals. You took charge of everything, basically.
Yeah.
The grass, the hedges, the cleaning, the cars, everything, Brian.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
Well, it
as
is,
well as trying to keep our business going.
It's almost like, and that's it's now that I start to realize the impact of that particular time. Because at the time, you come back and it's like the automatic feeling is, oh, you've come back from holiday, so you should have loads of energy and you should have all everything. But the fact is, I'd had a tonsillectomy 3 weeks prior to that, and actually only 2 weeks prior to that. So you just start to feel like you can be coming back to normal. You haven't slept particularly well for 2 weeks. You've had courses of antibiotics and all that sort of stuff. So you don't realize it, but you are all over the place. And it's not until you put it into place now. But going back a week, I couldn't put it into place. I was just thinking, what's wrong with me? And the rush up to Christmas is like, so you come back to a house that hasn't really been maintained for the last 6 months. So there's lots of yuck and everything all over the place. The hedges are completely overgrown. And when we're talking hedges, we're probably talking, I don't know, 300 meters of hedges, which are, you need to get up on a ladder to get to the top of them. So it's not a tiny little hedge like in a normal sort of garden, is it? Because we live in a lifestyle block. And again, it's our choice, but everything just needed tidying up and sorting. And like you say, with you just being in here for 8 to 10 hours a day, just writing a chapter, polishing up on your chapters to get it ready for the editor. It's like you take it all on board. And at the time, you kind of get a buzz from it, but you don't realize that you're actually running on empty for quite a time. And then that has that for want of a better word, it has its toll on you. Mm. And you then you hit the wall. And it is like hitting a brick wall, because all of a sudden you just think, bang, I haven't got any spark there. I can't feel it, And I like to get up in the morning. I like to work out, and I have a routine that you do, and you have your morning bulletproof coffee and all that sort of stuff, and we kind of eat after midday, all those things. So it's all your longevity stuff is in the right place, but then all of a sudden you're just thinking, I haven't got the energy, I can't even be bothered to work out. I did hurt my wrist in Thailand as well on the motorbike, and that is another thing that just has a little knock on, that you can't do your proper workout, you can't do this, you can't do that. Every time you're out in the garden, you're with the hedge trimmers and stuff like that, everything's aching, because you're trying to compensate for that sore wrist and, and all that sort of stuff. You're going to the osteopath because your neck's sore from the accident that you had on the motorbike and stuff like that. And, your back's sore, and it's all these things start to just chip away at that magical energy battery that you got inside your body. And then before you know it, you're thinking, I'm now starting to feel agitated. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And that then has an impact on the family.
Well, I was going to say, before I say what the breaking point was for you, not the breaking point, I don't want to make it sound like, the breaking point was this.
No, but it can be. The straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, it was the point where I thought, oh, hang on a minute, this isn't right,
Yeah.
But before I say that, the other thing as well that we completely underestimated is me and Brian, and we've talked about this on another podcast called How to Stay Married and Working Together. I think it's about 5 podcasts back from this one. I never know the numbers of the podcast. I'm sorry.
We're not
I'll link
very
to
good.
it, and I'll link to it in the show notes.
Yep.
But we talked about the importance of talking when you work together as husband and wife, or two partners work together. It's so important to have that time where you just talk. And I don't mean talk business. I just mean talk about life, about how you're feeling, how the other one's feeling, what you need. It's super, super important. And when we were traveling, We had that every single night. Every night we sat down, glass of wine, whatever, and we just chatted. Even if it was just rubbish, we chatted.
Well, it's never rubbish, but I know what you mean. You're not talking about a specific
Yeah, it's
subject.
not like, oh,
yeah,
this is
let's
this is
talk
a
about the
meaningful
politics
conversation.
in London today.
Yeah, sometimes it's just, oh, this and that. Or remember that? Remember when we did that? Oh, yeah. And then you have a laugh or whatever. But since we came back, and again, I don't want it to sound as if like, oh, you're not grateful that you've got this family that are with you, but we're not getting any time in the evenings because we've got Sonny and Tess live at home. You know, they've also got their girlfriends and boyfriends. They're around quite a lot. It was the run up to Christmas. You want to be sociable. You want people to come round and have dinner, but that takes away from your time. So it doesn't give you that time to just sit, just the two of you and talk.
Yeah, and not only that, you know, you talked about post-vacation blues. Is the other side of when you're away, apart from the evenings when you just sit there talking together, because you've got no car to look after, or not so much car, but you've got no property to look after, you've got no things, you're living in a condo or wherever it is you was, especially when we were in Thailand. And you have this set routine where, you know, you can go to the gym in the morning, you can go and have a sauna,
wonderful.
you can go swimming, you can do these things, and you've got all this time to listen to your podcasts and
still get your work done.
and your mindfulness things and all that, and you still get 6 or 7 hours of work done, but you get better quality of work done because you've had such an energizing morning, like, you know, and then you come back and it's all taken away from you. Apart from, yes, you can still work out. I work out in my garage at home. I don't go to a gym and stuff.
I don't think it's been taken away from you. I think you've been added to.
Yes,
I don't think anything's been
nothing
taken away from
It's
you.
just you don't have. All right, I did maybe say that wrong. It is taken away from you because you don't have the time to fit it into there. So that you've lost that time that you had for 2 or 3 hours in the morning, in that morning routine, where unless you're getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and then, you know, you're having an evening meal with the kids and you want to get your 6 to 8 hours of sleep, don't you, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just saying, it's taking away is not right because you could still do it, but then your job would then suffer.
Well, I'll talk about that in a minute because I kind of don't disagree. I don't agree with that. And we have talked about this, haven't we? But I'll talk about that in a minute. First of all, I just want to say, go on. What do you want to say?
It just adds to what I was saying earlier, as in it just chips away at those things. So yes, it does add to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is you've still got exactly the same amount of hours as you had in Thailand. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
You're not getting up any earlier or any later.
No.
You've still got the hours. So that's what we were talking about the other day was, hang on a minute, what if we've still got the same hours? What is it? Why do we feel, or why in particular you feel, that you've got no time, that you've got no this? And it came down to the fact of the house and even just doing the dishes, you know, wiping down and taking the bins out and making sure the dog's been walked and has the dog been fed. All those things add up. Little.
It goes back like the emails. It's like, because you just realise you're spending time, which is not wasted time, but it is time that you weren't doing before.
Yeah.
It's a huge effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
That side of things.
And that's why when I said I don't agree, I don't mean to be, argumentative. I just meant nothing has been taken away from you. No. Only things have been added to you.
Yeah.
And the things that have been added to you, like we said, we talked about this again before. It just feels like me and you just having a private conversation here, and it just feels, doesn't this weird? Because it doesn't feel like I'm doing a podcast. But I'm just telling you, Brian, that it's up to us to choose what we put our time to. So we've all got the same amount of hours in the day. Yeah. If you want to spend an hour of that doing the grass and throwing the stones off the driveway the other day, like you did, then that's up to you, and you're going to feel frustrated because then you didn't get to listen to your podcast, or you didn't get to do your working out, or you didn't get to do your
exactly. But
editing.
it is. But the thing is the flip side of that, when you say, oh, you only spend an hour doing the grass and throwing the stones off. Yeah. I know you're just summarising because doing the grass takes 3 hours.
3.5 hours. Yeah,
and that's it, and that's without throwing the stones off, which takes another hour.
Bloody stones.
So those 4 hours of your week just evaporated. Not only that, we're in New Zealand and your grass kind of needs cutting twice a week almost. It's about every 5 days. That's how often it needs cutting. And you think, well, that's half a day every 5 days. So And that's just one thing, and that's without hedges or anything else, or going down and pulling foxgloves out the 2 acres of paddocks that we've got and stuff, like, because we haven't got any tractors there or anything like that to do it. So it's just all adds up, and it's hugely physical. It's absolutely draining, like, when you're doing it, because we live on a hill, so it's up and down dale, isn't it? Like,
So we have reached this point now where this is what we were talking about the other day.
Yeah.
And I get it. I get that. Of course, the grass needs cutting. The foxgloves didn't need pulling up. We can argue about that till the cows come home.
You can, but then it's like I said, each foxglove has probably 20 seeds on board, and there's 1,000 foxgloves down there at least, because last year there was 500.
So we've got 2 acres of land. In case you're thinking,
loves the foxgloves.
Yeah, I do. I absolutely love foxgloves. We've got 2 acres of land, and it borders on three sides of our land, borders farmland.
Yeah.
And the farmer doesn't want foxgloves in his field, so he's told us to get rid of every single foxglove on our land. Fair enough. Yes, okay, we can. But what I'm saying is, you don't have to, and we will do it, but you don't have to be the one to go down there and do it.
Yeah,
That's what I was saying.
But
I was saying it's easier. This is when you have to decide, look, okay, do I want to spend my time on my hands and knees pulling up 10 million trillion foxgloves out of our field, or do I want to pay a young lad $15 an hour or $20 an hour, or whatever it's going to be, or a team of lads, I don't know, or girls, whatever, to come in and help us? Do I want to pay someone $25 an hour to come in every week and cut the grass?
I totally agree, but
it's like we can't make that leap. We won't say, because every time we discuss this, we both say, it's like you with you said to me, or get someone to do your YouTube thumbnail. Oh yeah, but no, they don't do it quite as well as me though. And that's what you said about the grass.
Yeah, and and we were listening to a podcast yesterday with Pat Flynn, and exactly that type thing is, when do you let go? But the thing is, the reason why it's slightly different, because before I came home, I really, really was looking forward to doing the grass and getting back into just doing some physical stuff on the hedges and stuff, because it's a physical thing, and you feel very satisfied at the end of the day when you've done a great job and you look over and everything looks brilliant, so you do get satisfaction out of that. But it never crossed my mind until the last few days that maybe we really now start to need to get some help in, because I'd rather do a couple of podcasts than be cutting the grass sometimes, because I'm just sitting there on my bum talking to you, So
yeah, but we don't get paid for that, so this doesn't count.
It's a balance. That what part do you enjoy? It's not so much. I've never had a problem with physical work, because that's what my whole life has tended to have been. It's been more physical work than anything. So, and I know how that makes you feel. People, say, "Oh, you need to go to the gym." It's actually no, you just need to get a physical job half the time. Yeah. Bin what you do, and
go and get a tradie.
Go and be a tradie. You don't find many tradies that have energy shortages after half an hour after eating your food. It's not. It just doesn't happen, because you've got to keep going. And it's that. But it's when you're sitting in an office environment, that's when you feel it, because it's not. You just metabolizing in a different way. But all those things, I agree. Listen to that Pat Flynn podcast yesterday, and listen to the guy who was on it, and he's like, we've had to realize that you've got to let go of the reins a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes you just do, and you need to think, right, yeah, we're in a position where, yes, we can afford to get a gardener in, probably.
Yeah. Pat Flynn, by the way, I'm sure you know who Pat Flynn is, but in case you don't, he's a major podcaster who helps people build.
One of the originals.
Yeah, helps build people's businesses online for them. He's absolutely fabulous. And like Bryce said, we'll tell you why we were out listening to a podcast in a minute, but he said that, and it struck a chord with us, and that's what he said. He said, you've got to know when to let go of the reins.
Yep.
Just let go of the reins and let someone else help you. And so let's just go back now to, you come back from traveling.
Yep.
Your wife is in the bedroom locked up with COVID, heaving and slaving over a book for just a crust of bread. You've got 2 young adult kids, 18 and 21, living at home.
Lazy little buggers.
You're trying to make it lovely for Christmas for everyone.
Yeah, and you were trying to make it special for everyone for Christmas.
And you did. We did. And you did all the garden. You pulled all those foxgloves up. You did all the cars.
Washed the whole house down.
Yes, you did
outside,
a lot.
Inside as well.
And not only that, most days when we went for a walk and I was crying to you and saying, oh, what's the point? Why am I doing this book? It's no point. You just
Yeah,
gave
but you
me...
you were pretty ill, Liz. You know.
I know, but I'm just saying, listen, you spurred me on and you gave me the confidence and the motivation and the enthusiasm and the love and everything else that I needed to keep going. And then last week, we're in the hot tub with Sunny Tess, and Tess said something completely off the cuff. It was no major, but Brian snapped and said, I mean, she was being a little, you know, she said,
typical 18-year-old girl.
exactly, yeah. She said something that wasn't anyone else. Normally you just think, oh, shut up. But it hit a chord with Brian and you went absolutely crazy, and was not absolutely crazy, but you said, oh, that's it. I'm going for a walk. I'm going off on my own. And you went off, and I just knew that there was something going on with you, because that's so not like you.
Yeah.
And I even came out and followed you, and I was like, Brian, come on. And you're like, no, Liz, this is it. Enough's enough. I'm not taking this anymore. And I just thought, God, you know, where's this come from? And so the next day, when I had my little pinny on, and brought my coffee out to my husband. No, sorry. I have to turn everything into a joke. I'm sorry. Sorry, now I'll keep it serious.
The coffee that I made.
Yeah, the next day I said, push Brian out of bed and said, make a coffee. No, I made you a coffee. And I came out and we sat outside on the deck, and I just said, what's going on? You know, and your words to me was, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just can't seem to focus, and I can't seem to be motivated. And
the thing is I'm normally very mindful. You know, it's I'm not one of these people that can that can do the meditation and empty the mind, because I think that's totally unachievable. You know, your mind is there because we're at this state in our, what's the word when you evolution. At this state, our brains have evolved to a point where, you know, there is always going to be a stream of thoughts. If you haven't got a stream of thoughts, you're either sleeping or you're dead. And so it's about learning how to cope with those thoughts.
As long as those thoughts are about yoga and organicness, and that's fine.
The person that turns around and says they can empty the mind and not have a thought
anyway,
in their mind.
on. So
yes. What I'm saying is, like, I am
why
normally...
are you pissed off, Bri?
This is what... So you start analysing your thoughts and you're thinking, what is it? And I couldn't figure it out. Was I tired? Was I out of energy? Am I just pissed off with something that I don't understand, or what is it, like, you know? Because, you know, it's Liverpool, did they win? Yeah, they won. So, you know, what else is it? What else is there to worry about? Like, you know, I
must admit, when I came in that day, I was like, first thing I'm going to ask him is, Liverpool win this today?
Yeah,
then? And you're like, yep, they won. And I was like, well, it can't be that. It must be bad.
And that's what I'm thinking. Because all the analysis is going out the window. But that's, do you know what? A lot of it is to do is, like, I hurt in the middle of my back, and it was like having a tennis ball you know, you're like, I've trapped a nerve, and it's like a tennis ball in your back, and your wrist is hurt as well, like, you know. And so you have a couple of crap nights sleep, and it has a huge knock-on effect. You know, you can have a couple of days where you don't eat, and it's fine. But if you know, I'm just trying to say as a different analogy, like, you know, but if you lose your sleep, it's so important.
Sleep is massive.
Yeah, and
massive.
You can wake up in the morning and you've only, you know, you've been in bed for 6 to 8 hours, but you've only probably slept 3 or 4 of those hours, and the type of sleep, because the pain is making you turn over, and then you're turning over and you're turning over, so you keep waking up. And so this is what you're trying to, but at the time when you're going through it, you can't put your finger on it, because you know, you're not thinking, oh, I still slept, I'm not that bad. Oh God, good grief, it's like I only had a couple of crap nights sleep.
So do you think it was all down to sleep?
I think it's the whole lead up to Christmas. Then you relax at Christmas, which then your energy levels just kind of drop, don't they? Because you're not constantly going, like, you know. And it's not good to keep running on empty all the time. Like, you know, you need to recharge and just recoup, don't you? Like, you know. So
what we did here, and this is I'm going to share now when I tell you what we did the next day, was this is what I think turned the leaf. I think it changed your mindset.
Yes, and it can do. Yeah.
So we had this talk in the morning, and Brian said, you know, and we talked for about 2 hours that morning, didn't we? It was a long coffee, that one. And you know, how are you feeling? Oh, I'm not focused. And so I said, okay, well, why don't we just go in and, you know, go and do your workout, and then we'll go for a walk with the dog, and then we'll just get on. I can't remember what I suggested we do. I think we were going to do a sales page or make some video reel or something like that. We were going to do.
It was going to be your sales page for listicle.com, wasn't it?
For the podcasting thing, to be a guest on someone else's podcast.
Yeah.
My coach suggested that I build a sales page that showcases, how I'm on podcasts. So to do an audio reel and a video reel. And that's what I thought we were going to work on that day. Yeah. And then I came in and I sat down at the computer, and you were just I think you were just coming out of you were doing something in the garage, ready to start. Yeah. And I just thought, something in my head just said, Liz, close the computer, go and get in the car. Do you know what it was? I said to myself, what would you do? What I said, I asked myself this. I said, if you could do anything today, what would you do? If money was no object, you didn't have any commitments, any time, you didn't have to worry about anything. What is it you would do today? And I thought, because it was raining, and I love it when it rains in New Zealand because you can drive around the bush.
As you can hear the rain starting just now on our tin roof.
It's pouring down. And I just said to myself, I'd get in the car with Bri, I'd put the heated seats on, I'd put the windows down or the air conditioning on, I'd just drive around the mountain, and we'd just talk. And we'd just talk, maybe listen to a podcast and just talk and have a cup of tea in a flask and maybe a little piece of cake from somewhere, and we just spend the whole day in the car, just me and Bri, just talking and driving. And I thought to myself, then go and do it. So I went into the kitchen, and I said to Bri, forget everything that we said we're going to do today. We're going to drive around the mountain. And you sort of looked a little bit shocked, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Well, you just do, because it's just like, I just taken that little bit of effort in your mind to just think, right, let's just, set intention, and let's carry on doing what we're supposed to be doing then today, and just draw a little bit more on that energy reserve again.
So this is yesterday. So we get in the car.
This is only yesterday. Yeah. So we did. We got in the car. We went and had some lunch, and literally we drove around the mountain.
Yeah, we just spent the day in the car.
It's not a huge mountain.
Around.
It's a volcano, but it's not a huge mountain.
Yeah, but we drove out to the lighthouse on the cliff, and we just sat there and watched all the waves crashing, and we listened. This is the thing. We listened to a couple of really inspirational podcasts, and we just said to each other afterwards, because we were talking, and we just said, it's as simple as that. Did you feel better after yesterday?
Yeah, I think because again, this is just me thinking off the top of my head as well. It's about when I came back, it's like you put so much effort in after being so in control of what we were doing, and you come back and you then focused on sorting the house out and everything, and you really do start to lose touch of what's going on in the business, because you're not 100% focused on it, because you're doing all these other things. And I think going for that drive yesterday and listening to like-minded people talking about building a community and all those sort of things, and doing podcasts, you need to get a podcast out there. And it's like, well, we've had a podcast now for 2-3 years. I know you've been doing it slightly longer than me, but you then all of a sudden having a connection with those people that you listen to on the podcast. And I think that's a great thing, because all of a sudden it just brings you back to what you've actually done and what you've achieved, because you start to feel a little bit, not so much useless, but you start to feel a little bit lost. And it's almost like you need to find, again, whereabouts are you? Where's the steady ground, and where's that bit to actually build upon? And that's what I felt yesterday when I was listening to those things, because, and I listen to different podcasts when I'm working out. I tend to listen to my longevity and, other things that I listen to and stuff. And to do that, especially with you, because then we kept stopping it and talk about it. Oh yeah, that's great. And this and that and the other. And it just, all of a sudden you feel that state of your mind starts to change, because it starts to release those endorphins and things like that, and it makes you start to feel good again. And that was it. It's not completely, I don't feel completely different than what I did 4 or 5 days ago. I still feel a little bit aggravated, but I feel a lot clearer than what I did a few days ago. And I just think, we even went out this morning and finished listening to our little podcast this morning, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And it's just great, because it's just an hour every time.
Do you think?
It's so refreshing.
I did ask you this the other day, and you said no, but I'm going to ask you again. Do you think it's because when you say you feel a little bit lost and you don't, do you think it's because you haven't got a definite goal that you're aiming for?
It can be, Liz, because, when I
Like with me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I
no,
just want to make
I
it.
was going to say, yeah.
Go on.
No, you can say something. It's just that I'm thinking about when we first came to New Zealand and stuff.
Yeah, but before you talk about New Zealand, I just want to repeat what I said to you the other day was everything that we do with the podcast and the YouTube and the moving to New Zealand stuff is just very, it's both of us. And I tend to feel as sometimes that it's just like because I'm writing this book and because I'm always the one that talks on the podcast more than you. And it's just, I felt as if, or I wanted to make sure I wanted to talk to you about, oh God, this is hard to say, but it's just like, if you didn't, I don't want you to think that it's just, it's all about you, Liz. And what have I got? Well, I'm doing all this work. Yeah, but that's what I felt like, Brian.
No, yeah, but that's completely. Do you know what, Liz? I'm not the one who has to be front center stage. I really, really don't, because that's not the way my mind works. It's like I like to be known that you're good at what you do, and everything else like that. But you saying that you are the forefront of what we do and everything else. The fact is, in this creative type environment, that is still a little alien to me.
Yeah.
After doing what I've done, to actually realize, and that's what I'm going back to when we listened to that podcast the other day. It's, oh my goodness, it's the understanding to yourself that I am that person now, because we all struggle with, who and what we are, and being able to change completely from a tradie. Yes, I used to DJ and stuff in my, which is you're still creative. You're still, making people dance and laugh and have a good time. So you're entertaining, yes, you can turn around and say, I was an entertainer. And then doing this, where all of a sudden you're putting content out there, and not only that, people can watch it again and again and again and again, and listen to it again and again and again. It's something that is a little bit alien to me, But you have been into the theatre, you've and on a lot of things, and you're probably 3 or 4 years ahead of me on this. Probably, aren't you? Because you wanted to do a travel blog, you wanted to do this, you wanted to do that. Why I was still working, and to me this was just great, because it's just you're actually, I can see you blooming from it, and that side of it. But to turn around and say, oh, because you said to me the other day, you need to go and hang out with your mates and stuff, and it's just like, no, I don't, because I actually really enjoy this. But it's I don't know, I'm trying, it's going back to that thing again of understanding that this is what we do. And it's not until you're trying to do this show reel for because you want to go on people's podcasts and things like that. So you then got to start looking at the work you've done to find the good bits of the stuff you've done, which isn't hard, because I know we do good stuff. And it's not until you do that and you look at your older stuff that you realize how much good content that you've got out there. And I think it's making you think, yes, that is me, that is what I do, and that is what we do as a couple,
Yeah, and I know that. I understand what you're saying, but from my point of view, I think the person that does all the hard work. I mean, I know you're always saying to me, oh yeah, how can you think of those things? The person who does the hard work, all the editing, all the solidness, all the being there, all the taking over 20 hours a day while the person does the book, that person, you, is the one that never gets the not the limelight, never gets the wow, well done, you're writing a book, oh fantastic, oh that's, and I know you're going to say no because I can see you shaking your head, but it's just I worry because it's almost as a partnership. You've always been like when you were doing your heating business, people knew that they needed you. That you were there.
Yeah.
You were Brian. You're the best heating person in New Plymouth, in New Zealand. It's like anyone that wanted a heating problem, they'd come to you. They knew who to go to. It was Brian. You were the one. And I feel now I'm scared sometimes that I think, although we're working in this together, we put equal amounts of effort in, equal amounts of energy, equal amounts of everything. I always feel like, oh, but are you getting out of it what I'm getting out of it? I absolutely love it. I was born to entertain. That's all I want to do is entertain. I love it. Whether that be in front of a camera, writing, on a podcast, whatever. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I love that. And I suppose when you said you were feeling down and everything, my first thing was, oh God, it's because you're not.
Yeah, but that's your insecurity turning to you and going, he's not enjoying this because he's not doing, this is what I want to do and not what he wants to do.
Because I know for a fact, for instance, that you want to start a men's mastermind group where you inspire and uplift other men to just get to where they get to a stage, and you haven't talked about this, so I'm going to say it, but where they get to a stage in their life where they're feeling a bit crappy over the hill and they want to do something and they want to move on, whatever that be, and you are that man, are that man, and you want to inspire other guys to do the same.
Yeah.
So that's if you had that as a business and you were making content towards that, for that goals, let's say, or you were making videos, then it would be different because I would be thinking, well, you're fulfilled, you've got everything you need. And I know we've got the New Zealand stuff and things like that, but sometimes I just think, oh, I don't know, Brian, I just want to make sure you're okay. That's all. And I don't want to be...
I understand that, but let's just look at 2022. And that's what you've got to look at. And you go, all right, if it had been a normal year in my tradie job, okay, I would have gone back to work probably second week in January. But depending on if we had a contract on, then, I remember going back because we had to go to a school and get the heating system sorted out in a school. So you're back on the 2nd, 3rd of January, and then I wouldn't take a break till probably Easter, which would be a long weekend, and that would be it. Then you try and maybe grab a week here or there before the winter sets in, a week maybe. And then that would be it, because the winter would be just absolutely crazy because people would be wanting, we would be backed up with systems to install. Then it would come round and you'd be thinking, well, we should be taking a break again now because summer's come in, but then the rush to Christmas because the builders are all trying to get finished and in for Christmas for the houses that they've been building. And realistically, you'd be lucky if you got 2 weeks off in the year, and then you'd go and get 3 weeks off around Christmas if, again, you didn't have a contract on. So what a great life that is, eh? Do you know what I mean? All right, you got your weekends off, but you were that knackered half the time because you'd done a 60, 70-hour week, physical week, and doing accounts and doing everything else that I used to do, running your own business. And then look at it. Let's have a look at what we did this year. It's a big, big difference, isn't it? To gear up and get the house ready for renting, which was a bit of physical work, which wasn't a problem. And then go off traveling for 6 months. Admittedly, we were working, but how we felt when we were away, you can't buy that. You really can't, You know what you've got? ADHD.
What?
Guess what everyone says.
Pardon?
Everyone's got a label these days. Because it's a label. That's what everyone puts as a label on each other, don't they?
I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say what you've got is you've got your bread buttered on both sides, young man.
There you go.
So next time you start feeling a little bit there, just remember.
Yeah. But that's, you said it the other day. Remember how you felt back in October. When you're full of beans and this, that, and the other, Who,
me or you?
Me, yeah. Which I was. I was buzzing to get back. Having the tonsillectomy knocks you back a little bit, but not physically. It was a bit painful. That was about it, really. You didn't sleep too good. Again, there you go. You don't sleep too good.
So, what do you think the takeaway from this was? was just when we went out for that drive yesterday. I'm not saying now that, ta-da, you
No,
feel
yes.
100% better,
Yeah.
but I can see a massive improvement.
Again, it's a shift in your mindset. That's the biggest thing. But the physicality side of things, as in, I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't know. It's what I'm trying to say is just don't overdo it. That's the biggest
Physically
thing.
or mentally?
Both. I think it was the mental sort of state of Christmas is coming and this, that, and thinking that I think, you get to Christmas and it's just going to go stop and we're just going to, have all this great time free and this, that, and the other, and not understanding that you're going to be hit with a bit of a double whammy of extra tiredness, which a lot of people go through at that time of year, don't they? And, some of them can't wait to get back to work because it's just...
Do you know the other thing as well, just veering off the topic a little bit,
going
back to a couple who work when, both doing the same thing, but although we're both content creators and we are both content creators, it's always like, Liz, it's a drama. Like, Liz's travel blog, Liz is this, and Liz is writing a book. And like I say, the other thing that you don't, and I said this to you the other day, you don't see, because to be quite honest, I don't know if you'll ever read them, so I don't bother forwarding them to you. But I do tell you a lot of the times, you don't read all the emails that I get saying, dear Liz and Brian, we got 2 today, dear Liz and Brian, I'm just listening to this. I'm writing a book about this woman is right. She lives in Kentucky. She's writing a book about Italy. She did some research. She came across our podcast. I didn't tell you about this.
Yeah.
She came across our podcast. She said, I just found it so uplifting and funny. You guys are just awesome. Can I include you in my book? I'll give you full credit. I know. And then she's like, I just want you to know that I'm listening. And I just, but that's what I mean.
Why does she want to include you in the book?
Because she's writing a book about Italy, about traveling to Italy.
Yeah.
And she might say, try house sitting as told by Liz and Brian on It's a Drama podcast.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't tell you that.
No.
And I forget to tell you these things.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I'm like, oh, wow, I'm getting all this good stuff. It's good to keep going, good motivation. And I do tell you.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. But you don't.
Know that
I know. And that's why it goes back to what I was saying before, was that it's not until you actually really step back and look at what you're doing. That's when you realise, but the thing is, other things get on top of you with, I'm not just saying the house, it's not that, it was everything else on top of that.
What as well as the house, what everything else?
Well, I went and got another car. I bought it. It's not a new car. It's like, because it's not easy buying a car, is it? It's a lot of, you're going to spend I don't know, $15,000, $20,000 on whatever it is that you spend something on, and you're hoping it's going to be good, because, we didn't buy it from a garage. We bought it off a private person, So it just all tips up, and I don't know, again, you've got to just slow down a bit sometimes and just stop running like a bull at a gate all the time. And honestly, that's what I did when I came back. And again, just after having a tonsillectomy and big dose of antibiotics, it doesn't do you any good, does it? Those things. So, anyway.
Shall I read my book, Bri?
Yes.
Shall I read the chapter in my book?
I think it's probably a good time, because we can keep going around in circles.
We've covered, I think we've covered some great things. I think the takeaway here is the fact that you've been open and honest about how you were feeling.
Yeah.
You had high expectations. You underestimated just what you were coming back to and what comes with having a house, a big 4-bedroom. It's not big, massive, but it's a 4-bedroom house on 2 acres of land that needs maintaining.
Yeah. It's not a flat paddock, is it?
So I think that asking for help, that's the other takeaway, is being able to go, do you know what, let's get someone in to cut the grass. Do you know what, let's get someone in to clean the bathrooms. Let's get someone in to answer the emails that don't need it answering, those sort of things.
But I think, you summed it up with, I don't know, it was one of your editors or something said to you, or you've read it somewhere, if you're writing a book, don't expect to have a clean and tidy house.
Yeah, that was actually the book called The One Thing.
The One Thing.
One Thing. I can't remember who wrote it.
Yeah.
I was recommended to it by my coach, Cliff. And it's called The One Thing. And what that's about is when you are concentrating on one thing, and everyone has one thing going on in their life, whether that be raising their kids, having a baby, starting a new job, building a home, getting back together with your husband who you've just split up with.
Yeah.
There is getting on a diet. There's always one thing that you've got in your life going on that you want to give focus to.
Yeah.
And that book is all about, if you're going to give focus to that one thing, prioritize that one thing, you can't expect everything else to be perfect.
Yeah. To fall into place.
Yeah. You can't expect to have a tidy house if you're trying to write a book.
Yeah.
You know, you can't, and in your case, you can't expect to feel, you know, you're absolutely brilliant when you come home and you've just had a tonsillectomy and you're trying to recover from that.
Yeah.
It's just being kind to yourself, I suppose, and just saying, look, you can only do so much.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that you tend to do, you know, is like when, you know, you get older, because, you know, I'm 60 years old this year, and
No, you're not.
You're saying,
No, you're not. You're 42.
Yeah,
Don't
there we
lie.
go.
Just
And
look rough.
No, I'm just saying, you realize that, thanks. Yeah. I'll change the subject now. Yeah. No, you realize that you don't have the same energy of what you did when you were 40, you know, or 50 even.
Do you know what, Brian? I'm going to disagree with you there. I am going to me, yes, but you, no. I don't know what you do, but you have got lots of energy.
No, I'm talking, physical energy.
Yeah.
But yes, but you don't have the same as what you did when you're 30. You just don't.
Brian,
I know
you've
you
just
didn't.
gone around the bloody world and bought a car in
I'm
England
not
and
saying
driven to
that.
Greece
I'm just
and back.
saying, if like I'm digging a ditch, I know I could dig a ditch all day when I was 30.
Oh, well, obviously.
To what I can now, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Of course.
because you run out of steam, like, you know, or it's just, you know, it's not quite the same. But that's another thing that just, again, you tend to think, oh, I'll be great. I'll be I'll do this. And I was full of beans when I came back, and then
you will be again.
Yeah, you will. You just run out of steam.
Yeah, you just need to go for more drives around the mountain.
Yeah, you do.
With your flask of tea and go and
Yeah.
sit by the lighthouse and just watch the waves crashing. And just another good, really lovely analogy that I love to live my life by as well is that every day when you wake up, you have this cup. And it is just filled with energy and creativity and all this, you know, just everything good is in this cup. And every single interaction you have with someone or something you do physically, you take a few drops out of the cup. Some take more drops, some take a bloody big cupful, some take a handful, you know, and like, oh, I'm just going to make this phone call. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to write this email. I'm just going to sit and talk to Tess. I'm just going to do this editing. And all of that takes stuff out of your cup.
Yeah.
And then you do something like we did yesterday when we went on our drive, and all of a sudden it's like a hose pipe coming back into your cup.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, I feel great. And after that drive, it was like 5:30 at night. And we felt like we could take on the world, me and you, didn't we?
do. But straight away, you've got, you have
It's
been,
filled you back up.
Yeah,
and
it
it's
is.
finding things like that, keeping that balance. You can't, like you said at the beginning of the podcast, you can't just run on empty. You can't just be drained constantly and expect to perform exactly the same. You can't, can you?
No, you can't, no.
So it's just finding those things that
Yeah,
fill you up, Brian.
that's it.
Yeah. So going back to the book, like I say, writing this book about traveling the world. And this is actually, we were just talking about this at lunch today. This is actually a really good time to read this part of the chapter after what we've just been talking about, because this part of the chapter is all about Brian. So the book starts, the opening chapter starts with the line, 10 days, 10 measly days, that's all we were allowed to take for our holidays.
Yeah.
Any more than that, and my husband's head would explode and everything would turn to shit, basically. I don't say that, but that's what the gist is.
Yeah.
And then I go on to introduce Brian and tell you about how I met Brian. And then I tell you about the kids and tell you about, you know, who they are as kids and who, you know, my two children, who they are and what they are. I was going to say what they are, but they're just
It's
16
who they
and
are,
13.
basically. Yeah. At the
And
time.
then this chapter goes then back to when Brian tells me that he is going to go into business with someone. So that is this part of the chapter. And now, introducing Liz's book that's going to be absolutely brilliant.
Take it away, Liz.
It wasn't Brian's fault. All he was trying to do was put food on the table and pay the mortgage. We'd built our own home a year earlier and made use of his many skills, which was great in that we didn't have to pay any tradesmen, but not great because it meant we weren't getting a wage. Our credit cards were through the roof. I think I should go into business with Sam, Brian blurted out one afternoon. We were walking our dog, Maggie, on the beach, trying to tire her out so she wouldn't go into the garden and dig up the new flower beds that I'd spent ages planting. Installing heating systems. He swallowed and waited. I'll admit the conversation took me by surprise. The last time we spoke, everything seemed fine. He was supposed to be staining the outside of the shed that he just finished building, in deep oak. I reached into Maggie's mouth and pried the stone out that was clamped between her back teeth. Annoyingly, our dog chews rocks. Don't ask me why, I have no idea. The vet said it probably has something to do with me homeschooling the kids, that she felt abandoned at a crucial time in her puppy development, and it has given her some sort of weird anxiety issues. What bollocks. Oh, obviously, I would never say that out loud, because vets have been to university and are clever and rich. But all I know is, anxiety or no anxiety, chewing rocks causes my dog's teeth to fall out, which in turn leads to a visit to the vets, which in turn leads to him making me feel bad about home educating my sprogs. No, Maggie, no! I wagged my finger and hid the stone behind my back. She danced on her back legs and chattered her teeth. I turned to Brian. Sorry, who? Sam? What? Scottish Sam? The same Sam who 6 months ago you said was dodgy and you couldn't believe he'd got his licence passed? I didn't say he was dodgy. I said he was podgy. And that's only because his wife works in the bakery and brings home the leftover pies. And I never said that about his licence either. That was someone else. Sam's a bloody good tradie. I wasn't sure. We'd only ever done things together, Brian and me, as a team. We'd run a ski chalet in Whistler, owned a cafe back in the 90s in England, bought and sold 8 properties, and, more recently, moved to New Zealand. The plan going forward was that after we'd finished building our home, we'd start something new, together. And that time was now. But, yes, money was tight, and I'd committed to homeschooling our kids, so I knew our plan wasn't realistic or feasible. And Brian being Brian was just looking out for us, securing our future. I knew he was right, but still, I couldn't help feeling abandoned, dumped, jealous. I don't know, I said, kicking a tuft of grass sullenly. What if this Sam does us over and runs off with all the money? Or worse still, tries to get us into swinging? That's what business partners do, isn't it? Get all chummy and then sleep with each other's partners. Brian looked confused. Liz, his wife is up to her neck all day in dough. The last thing she'll be thinking about is asking us over for a shag. I frowned. I don't like men who use coarse language. Brian pressed on. I think this partnership will really benefit us. It means we'll start earning some decent money and, more importantly, we'll be able to take more time off. At least a month at a time. And so the deal was done. The papers were signed and, give Brian his due, in the first year of the partnership, we went to California with the kids and stayed with his brother for a month. That holiday was fabulous, but for reasons I won't go into here, when we returned home to New Zealand, the business was in tatters. Jobs were backed up, customers were complaining, and Sam was scoffing pies like they were going out of fashion. I'm never doing that again, huffed Brian, fraught and anxious. It's just not worth it. It's clear that this business needs 2 people here, at all times. And so that was that. The more time promised disintegrated. And for 7 years, we never left the country. Our family holidays, vacations, as they say in America, were spent 3 hours from home, on a campsite, in New Zealand. A very nice campsite, I might add, but still a campsite. For 10 days. No more, no less. Until one night.
Go on, Liz, carry on.
Dun, dun, dun.
What happened on the one night?
Yeah, because then you'll find out, because the next part of the chapter I read was when we decided and how we decided to travel the world for a year and what you did about your job.
Yeah.
And
I'm looking forward to reading this book.
Yeah,
because
well,
that
it's
was
your life,
brilliant.
isn't it?
I love that chapter.
Yeah.
Or that little section of that chapter. Yeah.
So hopefully you enjoyed that. Like I say, it's a book about traveling the world with your family, just taking a normal family. Literally, Brian was working 60 hours a week, and we just got to the point where it was enough is enough.
Yeah.
You know, we want to do something different. And it's scary doing things like that. It's really, really scary.
Yeah.
You know, so
And I think it comes back to what you were saying before with what fills your cup up.
yeah.
And like you say, it's not so much the physicality of the work, it's how do you feel at the end of it? That's the thing, isn't it? Because you can do some brilliant jobs that you love doing and you're full of beans.
Yeah.
And that was not making me full of beans. It was just like, So,
What, doing your plumbing job?
yeah, I mean, I don't mind, like I said before, I don't mind doing those physical jobs, but it's just, I didn't feel in control enough. I think that's what it comes down to. And that's what happens sometimes when you go in partnership with someone, you know.
Do you feel in control with me?
No.
No, I'm being serious. That's not a joke.
Yes, because we talk, and that's the big thing, is we talk about things. And I know your mind's been on the book and everything lately. So that's, I suppose, that separation of that. We lost that sort of togetherness a little bit, didn't we?
I'm really excited about this book, by the way. I'm really excited. I just want to say publicly thank you to you, Bri, because you know, you've supported me 1,000,000,000,000,000%.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do a much bigger shout out than this. This is just like a little shout out. But because you're feeling a little bit, you know, down and stuff,
Yeah.
I just want you to know that I completely and utterly appreciated what you did and supported me when we came back, and just, in fact, supported me and continue to support me all the time.
Yeah.
And I will support you, Bri.
Yeah, but the thing is,
I'll always support you.
what I love about this book is I love the way when you know, the way you write, because it's like you're talking in my head. And I think that's what I know is going to be great. You know, and that's a huge achievement.
Just
for a
think,
writer,
if it makes like
an
$1
author.
billion, Bri,
Yeah.
it'll be worth it. We'll sit there then and go, who cares if you felt rubbish?
Yeah.
So what?
I tell you
Yeah,
what,
I have
though,
another
Yeah.
glass of champagne.
I'm not going to get someone to cut the grass though.
Okay, before we go, if you haven't signed up, and I'm going to close this down in the next literally in the next week or so, because it's getting to the point where there's going to be too many emails before the book is released. But right now, if you want to sign up to a newsletter, and you will see the process of what it's been like for me to write this book. Every single week I send out a newsletter, and this isn't your boring kind of, oh, today I did the editing. This is like, Brian said this and I'm crying my eyes out in the rose bushes, and this is what I feel, and why do I hate him so much, and why is he so horrible, and all these sort of things, like the kids and me, and just, it's just, if ever you've wanted to see what it's actually like to just put yourself out there and do something like this. I'm not an author. I've never written a book before. No, Bri, but I just mean,
that goes back to what we were saying before. Yes, you are an author, Liz.
no, but what I'm saying is, it's something that I'm doing completely new. You know, I'm not, and I'm just want people to know that if they're thinking of doing something, and sometimes when you follow people and they've already done it and it's all professional and it's all brilliant, you think, how am I ever going to achieve that?
Unachievable.
Yeah, you do. You think, well, that's not me. Yeah, but look at them. They're brilliant. They're doing this and that. But the reason I shared these newsletters so candidly with you is because I wanted you to see the struggles that I went through. And hopefully, I haven't published it yet, but hopefully when I do publish it, I can sit on this podcast and go, wow, you know, I did it. Look, if I can do it, you can do it. You know, it's just that sort of thing. It's just that collective of people going, yes, come on, we can do it. If she can do it, I can do it. That's all I want. That's all I want. That's all I want is for people to be inspired and go, well, look at her. She's done it. And she was crying in the rose bushes for 2 weeks. So, you know, so if you would like to sign up for that newsletter, go to www.itsadrama.com/newsletter.
Right, newsletter.
www.itsadrama.com/newsletter.
You did that well today. Yeah.
I did, well, I'm feeling focused.
There you go.
Because I haven't had to talk so much on this podcast. It's
No,
all
it's
been
been
you.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and you keep saying that about all these things that you want. And it's like, well, all I want is you, Liz.
Oh, right.
there you
And all
go.
I want is you, Brian.
There you go.
Yeah. And that's the other thing as well, is that you have to ask yourself, this is what I said to you yesterday, wasn't it? What do you want?
Yeah.
What are we doing it for?
Yeah.
Do we want to be trillionaires? No.
No.
What do we want then? Well, we want more time.
Just time.
Well, you can get more time by getting someone to cut the grass for you for $25
Exactly.
now. That's how easy that is. Yeah, but it's true though,
Yeah, but
isn't it,
is
Brian?
very true. Yeah, get job hop.
Yeah, you just you do have to stop and ask yourself. Again, that's what my coach has told me, is just ask yourself, what is it you want?
Yeah.
What are you doing it for?
I know, and most people say an extra 10 grand a month, and it's not. It's not about that, is it?
Yeah, well, if it is an extra 10 grand a month, then
No,
so
I'm not
be
saying.
it.
I'm just saying that's. It's not all about the money, Liz.
No, but people do it for the money. But a lot of it do
The thing
because
is,
they want to get to a certain amount of money that they can afford to not work full time and stay at home.
It's to have more time. Hopefully,
It
it's
always
not.
comes down to time.
Yeah, it's not. It's not about earning more money to lose more time. It's not about that, is it? It's to have more money to make more time, supposedly, and it's finding the balance.
So do you promise me that you'll hire someone to pull the foxgloves up and stop doing it yourself?
No,
Okay.
I'll do that.
All right then. So until next week, we hope we've inspired you.
Yeah. And that comes back to the kia kaha, stay strong, and that's what it means. Is stay strong. So sometimes you start to wobble. So kia kaha, stay strong. Kia u, and that's stay true. Stay true to yourself and everybody else around you.
Yeah, that's going to be my one. Stay true. It's just always be you, because no one is you. Not one person in this whole big massive world is flipping you, and you are the best.
So is that Dr. Zeus?
No, I'm talking to you, Brian. I'm
right.
saying that you are the best.
All right. Oh no, I thought that's all it is. That's what you meant. Who's whatever it's from, that saying. Thanks, Liz.
Okay, until next time. Bye.
See you now.